that I've just started. So really happy to have Jessie on. Jessie, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks tonight to join us on the live podcast. You could be doing anything right now, but you're hanging out here with us, with the folks at Late Night Parents. So it's kind of like the Wired family meets Late Night Parents. I don't know if this is like a WWE show or something, but
well,
really,
it's a pleasure.
really
it is a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me on. I'm super excited. This is awesome. My kids are in bed.
Oh, good,
so,
good.
At least the house is quiet. You won't hear the thumpings of my almost 3-year-old. But I'm super excited to take part in your show and talk tech and parenting and all things crazy. I heard your story about your water heater. I had a similar experience with my water heater. We were lucky enough, though, that I happened to be in the basement when it happened, and I was looking for a pair of socks, and all of a sudden I hear this gushing water, and I'm like, what is that? So I opened up the room where the water heater was, and it was full of water. But luckily, we were lucky because our home is pretty much, it's a fairly new construction, so the builder kind of built a hole, so that's where the water was going. Right. So it didn't spread out, but we didn't have hot water for a few days, and we're like, wow, this isn't fun.
You get to see the necessities of what you need. You know, you need electricity and running water, and those are the things that we need most. I got to tell you, Jessie, I mean, my home was constructed in 2002, and I'm kicking myself saying, why didn't the builder build that funnel for us so that the water would funnel out and not into, causing all types of chaos? But that's neither here nor there.
No, that would have been great, because for us, our basement would have been gone,
right.
and it's kind of like she cave down here with our toys, because my husband also is into technology, so we have all the kids' toys down here, so it would have not been pretty had the water just gushed out. So we were very lucky about that. So we just, pretty much just had to replace the water heater. But all things considered, it went smoothly. So
I'm so glad to hear that. It was, like I said, it was kind of messy for me. It was touch and go, but the related services did step up and do their job, because if they didn't, I would be putting them on blast on Twitter.
But that's the thing. In my previous life, before kids, I worked in customer service, and that means a lot when you're in need and you call a company, any company, and just need them to like you said, step up and just do what they need to do. And it's amazing when it happens, and you're like, wow, that was effortless, and that's how it should be all the time. And unfortunately, it's not.
Hey, Jessie, enough about me, and this segment is about you and all the great things that you're doing. I got to tell you, and that noise that you hear in the background is my 8-year-old causing some type of chaos in the family room. So it's really live. So just tell us about the Wired family. Tell us, how did it come about? Tell us about you.
Well, the Wired family came by way of a rebranding. I started blogging in 2006. My son, who was about 6 months old at the time, I was home. I decided, my husband and I, that it didn't make sense living in New York City to go back to work, because my paycheck was pretty much going to go to childcare. So I decided, it was best for me to stay home, and the plan was to stay home for a year. Unfortunately, the job market pretty much crashed. But
right.
and I was pretty much out of options. But my husband put me onto Twitter, and he was like, you can connect with other moms. You're a first-time mom. Everyone has questions. Just get on Twitter. It'll be a great way to meet people. So I said, fantastic, I'll do that. And that's how it started. And one thing, and you're going to laugh, is that every time I looked for parenting advice, I'm Hispanic, so looking for parenting advice in Spanish, whenever you would type in the word mommy, M-A-M-A-M-I, you would see half-naked women.
Oh.
And so I'm like, that's not the kind of advice I'm looking for.
No.
So I decided to create a bilingual blog, and it was called Hecho para Mamá, which is made for mom, and it was a bilingual lifestyle platform. And I had that for a few years, and then I evolved. I was very much into tech. I always have been. And with kids, and I'm going to age myself here, but I grew up in the time where dial-up was the hottest thing. So I needed to understand what my kids would be growing up with. And I needed to be a part of that. And I didn't want them to teach me. I needed to be, I guess, a few steps ahead of them in order to kind of like navigate through the life of these digital kids, because essentially our kids are growing up as these digital kids. And that's why I just dove into tech and family tech, because honestly, a lot of the sites that are out there, tech sites that are out there, are very technical, and the average person doesn't get it. They just want to know, does it work? Yes or no? Am I going to have problems? Yes or no? Am I going to have to block my kid? Yes or no? Like, it needs to be very black and white when it comes to parents, parents and technology, because not everyone has that level, that technology. Like, my husband's into tech, so I can always go to him. But everyone doesn't have an in-home tech person that they can go to. And that's what led me to rebrand and start the Wired family.
Jesse, I got to jump in here. I just want to let our folks know that we're speaking with Jesse Medias of the Wired family. So you hit upon some key points, because you go to some of these sites, whether it's TechCrunch or Mashable, or whether you're going to Microsoft site and you're looking for specific, information on how do I do this, and they'll give you the technical information on it, but like you said, sometimes you need it in layman's terms, or as us both being parents, you need it in parent terms, saying, hey, I'm looking for XYZ because I want to make sure my kids aren't watching XYZ on their screens, and how do I control something like that? And
absolutely,
there's a gap. So it's really exciting hearing this from you.
No, it is. There is a huge gap, and I just think that for most of us, like I said, I own floppy disks. Right. I had a tower. It was just not the monitor. I had a big clunky tower that I needed to make sure that fan was running at any given time. And technology has changed dramatically since 10 years, 5 years, and the fact that our kids are being bombarded with so much technology, and 9 times out of 10 they don't know how to properly navigate it, and they are either compromising themselves because they're not aware that, you can't click on a questionable site because, you might download a Trojan virus. Like, they don't get that, and their parents don't get that. Nope. And I think it's important to understand that. Like, it's exhausting to try to stay one step ahead of your kids. But it's important to make sure that you understand what the life that they're going to be living. Like, my kids are young. My kid, I have a 7-year-old and an only 3-year-old. And my 7-year-old is very tech savvy, but I have limits on him, and I feel like you need balance, and I feel like I am born, both my husband and I are born and raised in New York City. I refuse to have my son look down at a tablet when he has this metropolis that he lives in. Exactly. Like, I feel like it's such a disservice. you know, and listen, to each his own, because I know that there are times where just putting a screen in front of their face quiets them down for like the 3 minutes that you need to concentrate. And I completely get that. And I've done that plenty of times, but I don't think that it should be a replacement for real life interactions and real life experiences, because there's nothing, a tablet or a computer cannot replace the feelings that your child has towards you or towards other people.
I got to ask you, because like you said, so you have a 3-year-old, 7-year-old, I have an 8-year-old and 14-year-old. So there's that integration for you and I around that 7 and 8-year-old. But like, you know, we're at the other end of the scales. I got to tell you, tell me the best learning app that's currently out there in the market.
Well, here's the thing. My son has, my oldest son, my 7-year-old, has a learning disability. And he has something called an auditory processing disorder, which is, in layman's terms, it takes him, when someone communicates with you, your brain processes that information instantly. For him, it takes him a little while longer.
Okay.
And the apps that I use for him are a lot of language apps. I had reading apps, Reading Rainbow, love it.
Yes.
I use Bop It, is great as well because it's like speed. I have Fast Forward, which is part of a learning program for him. I have to say that my kids don't use apps. Like, they don't use the tablets to like play with apps. They have the apps they use are more education based in that sense. They have this one called Bebop. It's
yes.
like a programming. So
yes.
I have him do that. He has by the time he gets out of school, he's pretty much burned out. So he actually doesn't even touch. Oddly enough, he doesn't even touch the tablet. My 2-year-old, almost 3-year-old, he's going to be 3 on Saturday. He is full-fledged Terrible 2. I think I own the world. He thinks he's 14, so we may have more in common here than we may think. But he is very much into like the PBS apps. I have audiobook apps for them, and they listen to books that way. Very boring stuff, I have to say. There's nothing action-packed in that sense. Just because I want them to just enjoy themselves, enjoy each other, and fight and just interact with each other. So there's a limit, like I mentioned before, there is a limit on how much screen time they get, because I'm very passionate about them learning about each other and learning about, you know, what's right, what's wrong. And like I said before, an app can't teach you that, you know, and that's what we're into
yes.
right now.
I got to tell you, we're running short on time, but I've got to get you back for a one-on-one, because you started to dig into so many different topics. I got to ask you really quickly. We have a little bit of time, but it's so good speaking with you. From your end, tell me something. When you want to put away the apps and you want to put away technology, what are you currently reading right now?
I'm reading Little Life, and the author's name is Hanya Yanagihara. I'm totally butchering that last name. I made a promise to myself to read 4 books a month, because I needed to read more and be more disconnected and show my kids. I have a love for reading, and I want my kids to have that same love for reading that I do. And I don't care if it's on a Kindle or on, you know, in a reading app or an audiobook, but I want them to know that the more they read, the more they'll learn, in reference to Dr. Seuss. But
yes.
They need reading is fundamental, and I want my kids to fully understand that and fully know how much they can really learn when they just pick up a book and get lost. There's nothing better than getting lost in a book. And
totally.
I want my kids to experience that.
I got to tell you, one of the books that I'm reading, just in the line of work that we do, is so similar because we are expected to be brand ambassadors. We're expected to blog about this, talk about that, jump on this show, do this segment, and there's a lot of parallels here. But I'm reading Dare to Be Extraordinary. It's a collection of positive life lessons from African American fathers, because that topic alone is maybe a 5-hour podcast on where we're lacking, where we need to step up as men, and just not for African Americans, just for all dads. But
absolutely,
this is the specific book I'm reading.
But even culturally, absolutely.
I got to tell you this much: we got to talk a little business. You got to talk a little business because you know, big brother and big sister will be listening to the podcast. Give me your thoughts on, I mean, I'm a newbie. I am totally a newbie, and you know where I'm going with this, Jesse.
Yes.
Tell me about FiOS New York. I mean, it's been great for me for 3 weeks, but you had years worth.
Yes, I've been a customer for 11 years. The minute it became available in our area, we jumped. And it was so in demand that we actually had someone from New Jersey come out to New York to install our service. And it was phenomenal. This technician came out, and there was some kind of a glitch that we couldn't get the service up and running. And he was in my house for like 6 hours until it was fixed. Like, he was calling. It was amazing. And we have not had an issue at all. And I work from home. My husband works from home from time to time, and we're always connected, and there has never been an issue. We are either on a tablet, on a laptop, on, watching, streaming something on our TV, and we have a smart TV, so we have the apps built in. So it's always being always connected. That's pretty much our life. And with FiOS, we have had nothing but amazing service. And I'm going to go back to customer service. Their customer service has always been superb. And I can count on one hand, on 3 fingers, the amount of times that I've had to call with an issue. In 11 years, it's unheard of. And they're always on point. That's my biggest thing, is that they're always on point. And you pay for what you get, and that's also important. Because I'm a parent of 2 kids, and kids are expensive, and I want my money to stretch just a little. And with FiOS, you get what you pay for. If you don't want a certain service, you don't pay for that service. And it's just knowing that you have something you can depend on, especially when you're always connected, and the high speed, the pictures that I can upload, the download speed, it's amazing. And the amount of shows you can save on your DVR, the list goes on. And like I said, it's been 11 years, and there's no stopping us. And I told my husband, if we ever leave New York City, we need to make sure that FiOS is wherever we are. We plan on going, because there's why go with somewhere else when you've had such amazing service for so long.
So true. I got to tell you, I'm a newbie. I will hold off from my comments because, like I said, you and I are going to do several podcasts because there's so many different topics we can talk about. Our next guest that we do have in the queue, she's a mom, she's a software engineer, and she's creating an app and a hardware device called Screen. So I don't know if you have time or not to hang on to listen, but you have the link. You have the link. You can stream it, because it's so interconnected of what all the different items that we're talking about tonight. Like I said, it was a blast to have you. I want to give you a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Oh, please. You're everywhere digitally, all over the place. So what I want you to do is take this time out, let our listeners know where they can find you, where they can find your work, your website. You are a brand ambassador. So take the time out right now. Let our listeners know, where can we find Jesse Nunez?
Well, the best place to find me is on Twitter, at Jesse Nunez. Anywhere that you find me, it's Jessie Nuez. I keep it simple. Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook is The Wired Family. And my site is called thewiredfamily.com. And it has been an absolute pleasure to be on your show. Thank you so much.
Oh, Jessie, come on. Like I said, we always talk in the chat room and in our super private Files New York chat room that no one's supposed to know about. That, you know, it was great doing a Twitter chat with you last Monday and also with the rest of the team. I'm looking forward to great things for our team. I'm like I said, I'm glad to be a part of the team, glad to know you. All the best to you, your family, and your husband. And
thank you. Likewise. Thank you.
We will be talking. So thanks so much.
Absolutely. And we need to talk sports